this program.
It is now that part of the program when we shall
Unbox, 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 unbox.
What's inside the box?
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you so much if you're joining us today on this end of 2022, heading into 2023. It's really great to have everybody here. Thank you so much for joining. I am really happy to be able to do a little bit more of this unboxing thing live. And today I'm bringing in a friend from the Legion of Lesser Toytubers. If you haven't heard of that, that's okay, because we're lesser. I'm going to go ahead and bring in from the Shiny Plastic People channel, Chris. Here we go.
Hello, Mr. Something. I'm excited to be here.
So shiny, so plastic.
I try my best.
It's really cool to have you on. You know, I've been hanging out with Chris on the Geek Dad Life Patreon Discord, kind of getting to know him there, seeing his channel. We started this whole conversation around, hey, a bunch of us are just sort of starting out this new thing. And you remember how that all came up? You just kind of brought up this idea, right?
Right. Well, it actually started because of Geek Dad Life. I think they were talking about Halloween and bringing all their Toytuber friends on. And, you know, they're going, you know, Dole from Yes Have Some, Dan Larson, anybody they could think of. And, you know, a couple of us got started and weren't mentioned, obviously. So I'm like, well, it's because we're lesser.
Yeah, right. And I'm not even sure if I officially had yet. No, that was October. So I did have a channel. Fun fact, I started it on my 46th birthday. This is officially part of my toy life crisis. And so that was in August. And so, yeah, we were totally just these folks starting out, right? Maybe had a couple of subscribers here and there, a couple of videos up. And we're like, hey, let's throw this thing together. And then you put out some artwork, right? Which
right. And then
which I don't have handy, of course.
It's all right. And it wasn't very good. I think you came in and it came out with a much better version of it.
Oh, it was great. It was great. So we are officially the Legion of Lesser Toytubers. And at the end of sort of my videos, you'll see them. You'll see that thing pop up there, and it's like, hey, you know, check out these other folks, and just kind of a way to, you know, maybe point out some other content that you might not have heard of. So, in general, always good to find new toy folks. And I'll probably forget to say this later, but let me say it now. Definitely hit like on this video. Check out what's going on Chris's channel, Shiny Plastic People, and do all the subscribing and the clicking of the bell, yada yada yada. That said, we are here to hang out with friends and play with toys, and there are a bunch of folks today, or more than I'm used to, a bunch of folks here joining us on New Year's Eve to look at some toys. So let's go ahead and say hello to them. And I promise this time I'm going to remember to actually click on them. So first off, Quip was usually hanging out, but unfortunately he's like, I have a family, so I'm going to do New Year's Eve. But yes, he's like, sorry to miss this team up, but he'll catch it on replay, which is awesome. Happy New Year, Quip. Payne's Toy Samples, what's up? Thank you for dropping in. Cobra, Happy New Year.
Cobra.
Do we add the la 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 just to scare off Ken? Okay, I'll say that for later. Ostradamus Toys, what's up to folks? Happy New Year. And someone who was already in the future, out where he's at, where Eldor's at, they're already in 2023. So hello there, Master Versal Toy Hunter. Check out that channel for sure. Some
now he will let us know if there's an alien invasion or something.
I'm hoping. I mean, I
yeah.
I have yet to figure out if he feels like he could actually affect the future or if he should just sort of hang back and watch. But Thanos, speaking of someone who doesn't really care too much about the future, snap away. Good to see you, Thanos. Who else we got in the chat? The folks saying hello to each other, which is awesome. And of course, Ken from Toy Connections. What's up, Ken? Cobra, la 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 la. He's like, no, stop it, mute, stop it. And Wilhelm from Wilhelm Toy and Hobby, how's it going? And this is amazing, folks. Thank you.
It's so
thank you,
exciting to
thank
see
you.
so many people here. This is cool.
Yep. And the question is, which Chris? Yes, definitely that Chris. I wanted to play the music, but I was like, ooh, copyright strike. But good choice in name, I gotta say. I'm assuming that
Sure.
was yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's it.
I love it.
It's
And
not that clever.
no, it's awesome. And yes, I love it. Thank you, Ken. Really appreciate that. But if we're going by, the algorithm and all that, but you're right. We are all the same. All right, folks. And we're all the same. And the reason we're all the same is because we are grown people who love toys, who probably started as young people getting toys, playing with toys in a decade that is not in this one. And so we were like, man, we love this stuff so much. And we might be collecting, we might be buying one-offs, whatever it is. But we were just so into the idea of toys that to this day we're buying. And with that said, we're going to unbox a couple of things. And so we will focus today. Let's see. Hello. Let me do a couple things here. I remember.
Oh, it had to be a
Let's
Power
get rid of
Ranger toy.
that. Let us focus in. Because Chris and I, like, we're fun, but this is even better, right?
Oh, it's about the toy.
Those wonderful toys. Where does he get those wonderful toys? Okay, so this is the first one. And if you saw the thumbnail and the description, today's kind of a human anatomy lesson. And so I've got two toys ready. Chris has sort of a toy that I haven't yet actually fully confirmed what exactly it is. But we're on this human anatomy kick because we've got this figure. I forgot the trigger warning, and I thought I mentioned it. But if you, yeah, for real, I have a friend actually. I was not exactly joking. I have a friend who has a fear of patterns and holes and dots. There's a word for it, and I totally put it in the description. I forget what exactly it's called. Let's see. Hold on. I'm really curious because trypophobia. Trypophobia. And so, for real, this figure would freak her the F out. So just heads up. This is iGuy, which I guess for some reason it's titled the Mighty Morphin iGuy. Do you happen to know any? I know you're a bit of a Power Rangers guy. Any thoughts on why that might be?
Well, one, I'm sure it's because iGuy is generic enough that they couldn't copyright that.
That's what I figured.
But he is a Mighty Morphin monster from the original MMPR, so I'm sure that's why it's Mighty Morphin iGuy.
So it's accurate in that way and potentially a copyright issue. Gotcha. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up today. And if you wouldn't mind kind of keeping an eye on the chat, if there's anything there, you're like, heads up, you should, I don't know if you can click on them, but if you could just let me know. And of course, I was unboxing toys elsewhere and be right back. This is how professional we are, folks. And my mother would be so proud of me because I came in with the scissors, holding it the right way.
Ooh. You know, you don't want to take an eye out, so you got to be safe.
Okay, so where are we at here? We all do, don't we? Oz, don't we? We just all do.
I think I was in the same boat you were, Brick, where I have just such a backlog from trying to make content that I'm just way behind on unboxing.
Yep. Yeah, and work and life have been kind of running me. So I haven't necessarily been able to do that. Hey, perfect with the eyes. This is kind of interesting to me. I don't know. I got this on clearance. I don't know if you could see that. Oh, actually, where was that? I could have sworn there was a GameStop clearance sticker on this guy, but I got this on clearance, and so I thought this was kind of fascinating. Again, I'm not a Power Rangers collector. I have, I think I have a Power Ranger, but that was on card and everything, and it had like a cross cell on the back. This is just sort of like the character that you're about to see in photo. Do you know? Is that just the way these larger deluxe figures are?
You know, I have only ever bought one of the deluxe figures, and I think I've already
Okay.
tossed the box away, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, just wondering. It's interesting. It's pretty stark. It's fairly stark for a toy, I would think. But that said, who cares? We're like looking at the toy. We unbox here. Yay, look, cute packaging. Man, I mean, okay, so
That's the one I have, Quip, is the pumpkin wrapper. That's the bigger box.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. This, why do I have this then if I don't collect Power Rangers? And you know, I'm a weird collector, and I know there's a bunch of us that do this, but I'm not a completist by any means, and I don't always get things because, oh, you know, I'm really into this line or this movie or this show. Oof. And so I must collect every single character from it. That's not really my deal. It was. I was absolutely, actually, I was telling the story last time that I was sort of trained to be that sort of collector as a kid. My mom was a doll collector. And so she bought those things. I'm sure she had some interest, but in the doll themselves. But by the time I came into existence, she had a bunch of dolls on a shelf. Never saw her play with them, right? But every now and then she'd pick one up and collect them, and that was the thing. This is my collection. And so by the time I came into existence, I already had a brother who was about 5 years older. He had toys. So I was born into a house that had a Star Wars Kenner collection kind of in full swing. And so the idea was, no, your brother gets Kenner or has Star Wars, and that's what we're doing. We're buying Star Wars, which, you know, for a kid, we're like, cool. Does that mean that we get to have every Star Wars? But then again, the idea was, this is what you collect. And I think at some point, it was my brother, not me, was able to convince my parents, well, there's this thing that I saw called G.I. Joe coming. And so that became our two collections. And pretty much we had to stay in that lane for the most part until maybe a wayward uncle or auntie was like, oh, hey, there's this He-Man thing, right? And so there were some random one-offs that we had, and then we had the collection. So now I find myself leaning more towards the random one-off kind of thing. I can't even wrap my head around being sort of a completist collector. That's a lot of pressure financially. And in terms of just like, I must find these things, track these things down. And plus, I think I'm a little bit different now. I don't know about you, but compared to as a child, I have different tastes, right? And I have a little bit more focused tastes. I don't know what's your sort of a general approach to toy collecting? Are you a completist, collect certain lines, or?
Definitely not a completist. Yeah, I there are three things I look for in toys. One is a character I love.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Robin above all else. It's got to be a Robin. If it's on the shelf, it's in my collection.
Yep.
Two, nostalgia. If it's something I loved as a kid and I just kind of want representation around my house, you know, that's where the Power Rangers come from. That's why I have Doc Brown and Marty McFly.
Uh-huh.
And then, does it look cool?
And so I think I am shallow. And so it's no, I'm not really. I say that facetiously, but does it look cool? Definitely drives me. And to me, giant eyeball monster with eyeballs all over his body to the point where they almost look like zits. Like there's just something about that's like cool and odd and strange. And I've got a weird little eyeball collection now with optic Motu Classics Optic, which is one of the
Okay,
mutant
yeah.
characters that's just a giant eyeball. What else do I got? I've got this guy, and there is something else that I'm blanking on that's just an eyeball. But this one, this is interesting. I have never really messed with these. So I see, we've got this movement. And I've said this a bunch of times. I'm not necessarily trying to be like, hey, we must see all points of articulation, but I'm pointing it out because this felt a little weird. It's like, do you happen to know, do these toys have play features or anything like that?
No play features that I can think of. Usually the big
Okay.
thing with the Lightning Collection is effect pieces.
Okay. Only because it looks like there's this like rubbery, see how I'm like doing that and it kind of spring?
Yeah.
It's a little springy. Which is part of the fun, the experimentation and the play. I'm not even being shy about just bending these without heating them. I opened up a Plunderling the other day.
Yeah.
And I had to be sort of like be careful with the heating and stuff. And so I don't feel the need here. This is kind of just moving.
Oh,
What
man,
can you tell
Payne,
me about this character if you remember? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, Payne, like, getting into Marvel Legends, you have to focus in on a group like the X-Men because you would die in that line. It is just everything and just all-encompassing.
Yeah, I mean that's a fascinating one. I've been getting into Mythic Legions this year too, and I feel no desire to have to go back and get everything. And I hear people talk about, oh, it's real daunting. There's just so many characters, and so I grew up in an era where some of my first comic books were not comics at all. They were called the Handbook to the Marvel Universe, and you'd open them up, and there was just columns of tiny text. They were basically like encyclopedias of every single character, etc. So when I think about Marvel
the
Legends,
who's.
Yeah, they were like essentially DC's who's who, but it was. But if you think about how vast the Marvel universe is, Marvel Legends can do anything, right? So if you're going to try and be completist, like, ooh, you better win the lottery or be born into some rich parents. Anyways,
Boy,
I go ahead.
I was going to say, I wish I remembered more about this monster outside of, again, it was the original Ranger team. I was probably like maybe 9 or 10 when that was out. And it wasn't cool to watch at that age. But there was no way I wasn't going to. Oh, absolutely not. We all needed to be older and more mature than that.
Oh my gosh, at 9 and 10, that makes me so sad. All right.
Oh, I'm right there with you. But yeah, I there was no way I wasn't watching basically a live action Voltron.
I was so I was born in 76. When did Mighty Morphin Power Rangers come out?
That's a great question. It had to be the early 90s, right?
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was right around I guess you're right around 10, maybe more like 6th grade for me when I felt a little bit shy about saying I was watching after school cartoons or shows. But really by 8th grade, I was kind of like, it wasn't even shyness at that point. I was genuinely sort of interested in some other things. And, but yeah, by the time this hit, it was my cousin who's 5 years younger than me that went nuts for this stuff and absolutely loved it. And I was kind of looking at it. And again, I was born in 76 and had access to these Japanese magazines every now and then. So I'd be seeing Super Sentai. And I was just like, what are these things? What are these people in these colored suits? That's amazing, but never really like actually get to follow a show. Then I see this thing called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And I'm like, wait, I know what that is. And so I'd start watching. I was like, oh, some of this feels familiar. Some of this seems different, right? With all the sort of like overdub stuff and the sort of American pieces that were shot, the US pieces that were shot. But anyway, I don't know. I'm just go for it.
I was just going to say, I looked it up. It launched in 93. So I was, again, 9 or 10. Yeah. Because I was born in 83. Right.
Gotcha. That feels right. So then because I would have been in high school and like, nah, none of us were watching at least. And genuinely, I was not watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and being like, I really want to watch this. But I ooh, what happened? But I definitely hold on, figure that out. I definitely saw it and was like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like, I appreciated it. But then I started watching it, and some of the character interactions and stuff were a little bit, I think just sort of younger. Your browser. Go for it.
Masterpiece Television. It was not. In fact, I remember my mom like, the words don't line up to the mouth, right? Does that like I don't care,
that?
it's fun. They would dub over like Rita the villain, and it just looked terrible, and she couldn't handle it.
Oh, she was saying, oh, the words don't line up. Got it.
Yeah.
So fascinating. Well, listen, I have some tech issues to resolve with my little second cam, but let's go ahead and this is perfect timing, and I'm so curious to know. Okay, it is what I suspected. What do we got coming in on your end? Wait, let me get rid of this message real quick and say, what up, Charlie? Good to see you. What up, Nick Dillinger? Yeah, 94, 95. Sorry, we're still figuring out. I know I'm still figuring out this whole live thing. So being able to kind of like manage all this stuff at the same time, still figuring it out. Let's see. I definitely fought the urge to quote unquote be more mature regarding my cartoon and toy related show watching. I'm going to go back real quick and then we'll get to the toys. Let's see. I'm part of the Transformers community. What's up, Daz? It's insane the amount of figure completists purchase. It's never ending. And that amazes me. And like, go for it. If you can figure that out and you found a way to do that, more power to you. It's just not necessarily something I can do, but that's great. Let's see.
Oh, Transformers would be insane. Like, do you decide like to be a completist? Do you have to buy the reissues and the slight repaints and
Right. I do tip my toes in Transformers with core class, but space is the biggest concern. Yeah, just never stopped. Quip's like, no, I wasn't ashamed. Good for you watching cartoons, but Adult Swim got big right as I made the leap from middle to high school. That was me with Dragon Ball Z. My older cousin was a weeb. Yeah, that's got to be a word that I'm not familiar with. And I just aged myself.
Well,
and
I
made me
assume
watch
we're shortening
the subs.
dweeb.
Maybe. And made me watch the subs before they did the dubs in the US. Subs versus dubs. That's a conversation. I did enjoy Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Didn't care for more of the later seasons until later. Perhaps, Nick, that might be what's happening here. Let's see what else. My best mate loved it, but we were into everything Japanese at that point. And yeah, I think that's why I was also sort of like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I was intrigued because of the Japanese piece. But then, yeah, the second it kind of skewed more into like a Fox, again, not to hate, not yucking anyone's yum, but for me, that Fox afternoon sort of like, hey guys, and they had, what is it, Lunk, and they had the two sort of like comic relief characters that were sort of the
Skull.
enemies. Thank you. See, Lunk, what is that, Voltron? Yeah, I think at a certain point I was kind of like, not my thing. I'm 48 and I never stopped watching cartoons, anime, just love the media. Right on. Charlie, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers drew me in instantly because it reminded me of the old Gojira, Godzilla, and Ultraman series. Yes, of your youth. And Oz. Need some more coaching, says the guy still figuring it out. Oh, there you go. Didn't know that.
Okay.
Any
learned something.
Does that have Japanese roots? Does it have a Japanese term? Curious. Weeb. Subs every time. Again, I would love to have that conversation. Weeb is someone obsessed with anime. Used to pick up bootleg VHS, Japanese Dragon Ball Z, and import figures. And weebs are way deep in the anime scene and Japanese culture as a whole. Short for weeaboo. Weeaboo, I want to say. I wonder what that... Anywho. Non-Japanese people obsessed with Japan Okay, so right on, Oz. I'll probably see you later on your live. And Happy New Year. And I don't know where it came from. Cool.
Sure.
With that said, let's look at some toys on your end. And we've got the shiny cam.
There it is.
Yep.
And here
let's do that while I
we
figure out my
are.
cam. Oh, you tricked me. Oh, that totally wasn't what I was seeing earlier. Awesome.
Well, it's, we're talking the human anatomy, and
Yeah,
it doesn't
sure.
get more peak than
Yeah.
He-Man. But we'll spin the box.
I love it.
Very cool. I took the liberties of pre-cutting the tape to try to speed through this a little bit. Oh, but I wasn't counting on plastic tabs.
Uh-huh. Mattel loves those little hang tag thingy dealies.
Oh, the monsters.
See, when we were growing up, and I know there's a 10-year difference, but we didn't have all those, right? Like, I remember the vintage stuff that I was growing up with, they were just kind of in there, and then they'd pop out. I was trying to think back to, like, it's been a while since I've opened a fresh vintage G.I. Joe vehicle. And back then, I don't remember. Do you know how they were sort of concealed in those, or not concealed, but sort of kept in the box so they didn't move around too much? Because I don't really remember a whole lot
I
of,
wish
like,
I remembered. The reality was, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so a lot of the toys I had was secondhand.
I remember the blueprints, though. Oh, and Charlie knew what was going on. But did you cut the tabs?
I did not. Oh, what a fool I've been.
The Vanna White Masterverse drop. That reference ages you. Oh, nice! I've got this and the Skelly on the way. Hey,
Yeah,
Allison.
as soon as it hit my pile of loot, they had to ship.
I am also sort of waiting on mine, but I think for this wave, some of them I pre-ordered. I don't believe either the motion picture ones are ones that I pre-ordered, because when we're on the GDL on the Discord, there's a lot of folks who are like, just wait, they go cheap, and it's true. But yeah, I'm kind of like you. I ended up pre-ordering some of them, but I don't know. We'll see. Sorry, I missed that. Daz was looking forward looking to the Masterverse Skeletor movie version. Daz, I'm curious, do you happen to have the classics one? And I'm just sort of curious because this came up not in a conversation elsewhere about comparing the two, and I'm curious what you think. Charlie, your friend G.I. Joe, back in the day, there were a lot of twist ties. I don't remember. Thanos Copter, been using nail clippers. Yep, gets at them nice.
Smart
and easy.
idea.
All right. Got in the can thus far. Dun, dun, dun. So these came from BBTS, I assume. When you said
they did. Yeah, I saw they were coming into my pile of loot, so I quickly added a figure you saw backstage earlier, and Roboto. I was excited to grab those and get them all shipped at once. That made it really worthwhile. But yeah, people are like, "Oh yeah, wait on Masterverse." They are not wrong. But I'm impatient.
Yeah. I'm wondering, is it network connectivity I lost on my can? I've got 7 Masterverse in my pile of loot to get shipped. Curious Pain, what are you waiting on? And yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Accessories out of the way. Gotta put the
That was the alt head that we saw there, right?
Yes, that is. It's a very vintage looking head, which is pretty cool. Spin, He-Man, spin. Yeah, I was really excited about this. I know the likeness is not great for Dolph, but I wonder if they were doing the William Stout concept art thing that they did with the classics.
I remember that concept art from an old comic book industry. I guess it was like an industry magazine called Comic Scene, and I don't think that's where it came from. Only because of the way it looked, and if so, they didn't quite get that likeness either. And I want to say, who was that? Was that Mobius? I think who did the art, the concept art. Anyways,
But yeah, it looks like we've got, you know, an upper ab well hidden by our harness. That's cool. Biceps, balls, double jointed elbows. You gotta love it. He's a
that's
beefy boy.
great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, the sculpting is beautiful on the actual armor bits. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that armor is fantastic. I love the sort of the color treatment on it too. And you're right about the position of the armor hiding that cut. It's great. It's his brother Dolph Lundgren.
He didn't make it through MIT. It was MIT that Dolph went to, right?
I don't know. I had heard
Yeah,
though
Dolph-
that he was tremendously educated.
is-
Yeah.
Much smarter than you would think based on his appearance.
Ouch. But I understand. And Allison says, it does look like the concept art when they didn't have an actor attached yet. And yeah, William Stout, I think. Yeah, and I wonder, we haven't yet gotten a definitive answer on this, but I do wonder what the deal is with the rights around that. What the holdup is, because and if in fact they couldn't quite get the likeness, what's the word?
Well, and of
like
course,
sort of approved, and sort of ended up with that different direction.
It was a Canon Pictures, so who knows who has the rights to that movie, really?
Right. Yep. That is a dope figure. Quip says you could always just swap out the head for your favorite He-Man head that came with another figure or a custom. Absolutely. And that's my approach to Masterverse, because I definitely have been a little bit nonplussed with some of the heads that Mattel puts out, especially when I see I don't collect Hasbro stuff, but I always sort of watch them, and I have friends and my brother who collect them, and I'm always jealous of the head sculpts that are coming out of Hasbro. But overall looks good. And so you've got the alt head on there right now, right?
Yeah, I did just swap in the more vintagey head on there.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely lacks the mullet of the head that it ships with.
Yeah, but it's got the tousled page boy cut. Yeah, he looks really great. Look at that holster for the blaster too. And I'm kind of a soft goods. I get judgy about soft goods. At a certain point, I would love it if you could pull us into and see what's going on with that cape and the designs on them. And Allison confirms, yeah, it was Mobius that did the concept art along with William Stout and McQuarrie. Don't know that. I don't think that I realized that Ralph McQuarrie did concept art. Of course, he did concept art for a lot of things. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, I really like this gold. It's screen printing along the bottom there, but it's got this kind of sheer material we've seen on the other Masterverse.
It's the same ones.
Soft
Yeah,
goods.
It's almost like spongy almost. Yeah. That's very cool. I love that. And how is the cape? Can you tell how it's connected? That's the interesting to me about these Masterverse. It's almost like every character with a cape has a different connection point.
It
Like
looks
some of it's
like
on
it's
armor.
actually connected to the shoulder pauldrons on there.
Yep. Huh.
So,
Very cool.
Yeah, definitely not on the figure itself. I just noticed this sword sheath in the back there. That's cool that that's there.
Yeah, I think I've heard folks say that. Isn't that right? It goes through the cape.
Yeah.
I missed it. The order. Hold on. Nick's Nick Dillinger says it fits in with the terrible likeness of the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves toys. Yeah, sure. That's totally Alan Rickman. I remember those. And pretty much, let's be real, every Kenner.
Oh no!
Every Kenner Star Wars figure back in the day, those were not great likenesses.
Boy, everything just blew up on me at once. That was amazing. He-Man went down, my ear pod dropped out of my ear.
Allison, yeah, my understanding is that Stout owns some of the rights to the designs, thus the Super 7 Stout collection. So they may not have wanted to pay actors' rights on top of Stout's rights. That could be old info, though. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That's more info on hand than I had, for sure. Charlie says, I was so excited for this film when it came out, and then I watched it. My internal monologue was like, what the fuck? So curious, how many of you were around to actually see this film in theaters? Now, a couple. Anybody else on the chat? So basically, who old? Nick says same. So those two, I went, and it was the same thing. And I'll tell you, it was. So for me, fantasy nut, and like fantasy of all stripes and colors, right? So science, fantasy, whatever. They dropped me in a world that isn't Earth. All about it. So I was like, great, Eternia live action, fantastic. Movie opens, we're in the middle of a battle. There's rocks that are like, yeah, those rocks could be Eternia. Awesome. We go into Guldor's dwelling. Dope. We're in another world. Then we go through a tunnel, a time portal, and then we're in Earth. But the thing is, we're not just in Earth. We're in Whittier, California, where my mom worked. And so for me, it was like, wait a second. I know that music shop. Or wait a second. And so it totally took me out for a while. And I was just like, oh, who are these? Like, it's cool for what it is. But I was all about those internal Castle Grayskull shots, everything. It's just when we got to Earth, I was kind of like, oh. Any what are you thinking so far? Anything observations or what's going through your head on that guy?
You know what? I really like the sculpt. Even if, the head doesn't capture Dolph, it captures the movie, and it's the kind of sculpt you would have expected in those days, where it's just generic dude. So I'm into that. I like that. The tone across the figure is really nice. The details are good. A lot of hidden joints on the legs and stuff, thanks to the shin guards and the strap along the hip. Mm-hmm. They really did a good job with it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of new sculpts. If you wouldn't mind pulling them a little closer, I'm curious. You've got a lot of other Masterverse and a lot of other He-Mans. He-Man.
Unfortunately, I do. Okay. I keep telling myself, like, just a few. I'm just gonna get one. Stop embarrassing me.
I'm in the same way. I'm in the same boat. I'm kind of like, no, I swear that's not another He-Man. That's a different character, and his name is blah 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 because I put fur on him. But from what you can tell, are these new? What parts are reused and what parts are new?
You know what? Let me grab another He-Man here.
Yeah, go for it.
We can do a side by side.
Yeah. That armor is amazing, and I'll keep going through. So, again, who was old enough? Nick was old enough. Allison went to see it opening night. Quip's like, nope, you bunch of old folk. And yeah, and so Charlie says, oh, actually, yeah. That sword would have been so cool in any other film, probably iconic even, but that's not my power sword. Yeah, no, I totally get that. There was that part of me that was also sort of disappointed. But even then, I was a kid who was born and my brother first got the He-Man from my aunt. And then, of course, there was that pressure. Well, that's not fair that he has a He-Man. So then for my birthday, my parents relented and got me some more and got me a Skeletor. And so this was before Filmation came out. This is just the toy line had just come out. So we had these mini comics, and then the Filmation came out, and then my mind sort of reset. Oh, that's He-Man. So I think by the time the movie came out, and I'd been reading Comic Scene magazine and following some of the concept art, I was kind of like, I guess, used to the idea a little bit that he might change. So that part didn't bother me as much as, again, seeing my mom's work, or the area where my mom worked. Quip says the alt head that he comes with isn't bad at all. No, I actually think that is, yeah, I mean, I would say that that's probably one of the better He-Mans that Masterverse has done. I mean, I can't really tell totally, but I think I don't mind so much the original He-Man. He's just it didn't quite work for me. So I like that one, and I like this one. The others, I'm not really into Savage He-Man. I'm not really into the new Eternia He-Man personally. All right, so sorry, you're comparing. What are you noticing?
Okay, so outside of maybe like forearms, chest, abdomen, lower legs, so much new. So very much new. Because we've got straps on both upper legs, and we've got, it looks like sculpted details on both biceps. There's so much going on.
Are you saying that strap on his left leg is sculpted on, or is that like a piece that's on?
I think it's sculpted, or they stuck it right in the joint. But there's also one on the right leg here.
Huh. Which from my memory feels right. Like they're kind of in random places. They weren't like matchy.
Right.
Same for the biceps?
Same for the biceps. These are not on top. They are sculpted into the biceps.
Get you, Mattel.
Now, that's not to say they didn't take the existing mold and add those bits.
Sure. And I don't know enough how easy or hard it is or possible to do that. Wouldn't you have to then essentially change the existing mold, and you wouldn't be able to use that mold? Anyways,
right. Yeah, that's... this is where we need somebody in the industry, right?
Yeah, no, I just don't know. And let me see if there's anybody who not a whole lot commenting on that, but okay. And then of course all the new armor's new. The armor's new. You were mentioning the sword does in fact go into a sheath. Is there a sheath underneath that cape?
Yeah, it kind of is underneath the cape here.
Gotcha.
Crosses underneath.
Oh, it's part of the armor.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So like I said, I don't have him pre-ordered, but I don't know. Maybe I'll see if I can actually hold out for the cheaper, the sale version. We'll see. It seems like things are really slow to come into the Targets around here. That's the one from the 2-pack, yeah?
This is the single release, but it is the 40th anniversary.
Oh, because he looks like he's got flock on his underwear, but
no, that is just some wash going on there.
Gotcha. And did it come with that? Go ahead.
This is actually from the Lightning collection, a Power Ranger toy.
Oh,
that I've got that effect piece and just threw it on there.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's interesting. I really love it. And so let me actually, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people saw the new Eternia He-Man come up, right? And well, actually, I don't need to do that. I'll just show you. Oh, should mute that here. So when the new Eternia Viking He-Man, oops, there it is, came out, I saw these pieces and I was like, that's futuristic. That totally reminds me of Dolph Lundgren, or at least the concept art. And so I ended up picking this cape up on eBay, and it's cool, it's wired, so I might end up replacing that one. And that was my question about how they're attached, because I noticed, like with Hordak and with She-Ra, every single Masterverse figure that has a cape seems to have a different cape style or attachment point.
Right.
So it takes a
Yeah, I
it
picked
just
up
takes a
that
little
new
bit more
Eternia
work.
He-Man too before the
Mhm.
40th anniversary because I'm like, oh, just strip off the shoulder armor. He's very classic He-Man.
Yep.
And then they're like, haha, joke's on you. Here's a classic He-Man.
So this one has this little knife in the boot. Does that knife come out? It looks like it does.
It does on the movie one. Oh, it is a tight
Look
harness,
at
but it does
that.
come
Look
out.
at that.
And it is
It's
a
amazing to
different
me.
dagger.
Yeah. Yep, it's completely new. And so yeah, it's a trip to think how much they are investing into Masterverse, right? It's like and I know I'm not the only one, but a lot of us are just wrapping our heads around like what's Mattel's approach with Masters of the Universe? Clearly they're all in. Clearly they're like, we've got this multi-pronged, some kind of strategy, given that they have two different type, well, I guess 3 entertainment, if you consider the comic book that's connected to sort of Revelation and Revolution. They've got the CGI and then of course Revelation and Revolution itself, the shows. They've got a show coming out. Meanwhile, I'm assuming DreamWorks has a live action She-Ra happening. And so they're like, we've got 3 different articulated action figure lines going. We've got Origins, we've got Masterverse. I just created a third one. There isn't a third one. Yeah, no, there's 2. Oh, no, Mondo. Right?
Right. Yeah.
They're licensing it and they're not producing it, but so it's kind of like the feeling is we are all in on this property. We want everyone to remember Masters of the Universe. We want people to know Masters of the Universe, but then add some new things, right? And kind of maybe redefine and reshape your concept of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And remember, there's, now with the different sublines, remember there's also Princess of Power. There's also this new thing called New Eternia that they're having a comic book for. And so it's kind of like they're profoundly invested in this concept, they're like, oh, yeah, remember that movie that a lot of people kind of like, Don? We're making figures of that too. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's really fun to sort of see it unfold. And I'm looking at that figure and that thing's really amazing. And to come back, I guess, to the theme, human anatomy on point. Not Dolph Lundgren looking fairly sexy as a specimen. Go ahead.
I wonder if the reason it's a deluxe, despite kind of the lack of accessories, is because of all that new tooling.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder too. But I've always also had this thought with some of the non-deluxe figures. There's a lot of tooling that's happening with some of those too. So, but because I don't think, for example, Spycore was a deluxe, but I might have that wrong.
No,
I don't know.
No, he was not.
But he had a lot of new. I mean, he used some body parts underneath, but the weapons and the armor and the head, and I don't know. Just it's interesting. I can't really wrap my head around it. I think we saw this already. We got the people saying, like Quip again, saying, "I'm not that old." Charlie's with us. At least it's me. I'm old. Where the hell was? Yes. I get it. Like, 100%. Get off my lawn with that motion picture. Get off my lawn. Like, what is that? Oh, this guy, the real Robo Tribe. Probably the old guy on the chat, but family and I saw it in the theater. Yes. I hated Tila's look and personality in the movie, but Evil Lynn and Skeletor chewed enough scenery that I enjoyed it. Yeah. I loved Tila's reaction to eating the meat. That was kind of fascinating for me as a kid. Daz, I never saw it in theaters, but it didn't pull me in. Watched it on VHS, but I was very disappointed. Had a bit more appreciation for it decades later. And again, the real Robo Tribe. He-Man was the most exciting thing to happen to Whittier to this day. So the real Robo Tribe is someone I grew up with that also knew the town Whittier, which was I grew up in Downey, California, not too far from there. Yeah. I don't know. Whittier does have the anyways, never mind. I'll keep politics out of it. The 40th anniversary head might look good on him. Have you tried any swaps or messing around with him? I'm curious about.
I just opened him.
Yeah, he just.
I can make that swap happen.
Yeah, I'm curious. skin tones, I'm assuming. You know, I have a 40th He-Man, both a 2-pack and a single, and they're still in their cardboard prisons, actually.
Oh, he forgot the spray tan on his face with the 40th head.
Yes, your head is not that bad. I just shared some pictures to the Discord where of them in stores because they're like $10 now on clearance. And I just wanted to share that with folks. But the ones they had there were all the ones with an intense spray tan. That looks pretty good.
But I will say the alt head looks great on the 40th.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, they're getting closer. And I think there are a lot of folks who really love the classics He-Man head and say, like, that was great. Why can't they go back to that and get it great? And I will say I like them. But still, there was something around that vintage head that I still have not seen them quite recreate or recapture. I think Wondar, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of the colored hair and the dark eyebrows, that that felt kind of right to me. There you go. Give us back. Oh, it kind of makes me a little bit sad. How do you feel about that head? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to yuck your yum if you're feeling it, but what are you thinking about?
No,
Dolph Lundgren.
100 points for yucking the yum there. I don't mind it. Again, like, it's just generic 80s guy with that head sculpt and the mullet.
Yeah, I mean, he does look like he could be in an LA band. Could you show his hair a little bit? I'm curious about, like, maybe a little bit of looking around. Yes. Because, I mean, up front, he's cool, but we need to see the party in the back.
Shot here.
Yeah, okay.
He's got the
short enough,
golden locks.
Mm-hmm, it's short enough for him to turn his head, and yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no problem there. We actually get a decent amount of up, no problem down, obviously.
Are you familiar at all with that Mobius drawn concept art? He's kind of looking to his left, over his left shoulder, that they kind of share a lot, or no? I don't know if that.
Not off the top of my head, but I'm sure I can pull it up.
Okay, no problem. No, only because if I remember correctly, his mullet was a lot more. Wow, like it wasn't. This is more like 90s, kind of like.
Oh, sure.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, that was yeah, that's something.
That was teased and gorgeous. But all right, let me just go through this. Allison, yes, connecting back to Allison's comments. Agreed, it looked like she accidentally made it to the Gem and the Hologram sound stage, and that was Tila. Tila did look like she was coming out of like a, I don't know. I'm trying to remember that old roller skating movie, but she looked like she was in the mix between like Jazzercise and I don't know, and maybe an extra on Megaforce or something. And yeah, Allison's like, I've seen every Star Wars in a theater 7 times, and that's, I think you and Robo Tribe might be around the same age. Guys, I'm going to Levenlevia. Yeah, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. Happy New Year to you, Daz. Hope all's well in the UK. And definitely looking forward to toys. Quip is like, including prequels, sequels, and solo. Oh my God. I got to tell you all, like a lot of us here are on the GDL Discord or on other Discords. You might not see me comment a lot on Star Wars, but I want to tell you that I'm a gigantic Star Wars fan. And since the sort of like Disney purchase, I have followed a lot, read everything, almost everything, novels. And so, but yeah, I once people start talking Star Wars though, I kind of just, because it can get real like interesting when people start like, you know,
I won't name names, but there are people when they're online, you just don't mention Star Wars.
Yep. Real Robo Tribe Battle. Oh, God. Star Wars in 77 when I was 6. Back to the topic. Movie He-Man looks like Winter. Winter formal dance. He-Man compared to classic on the right. Winter formal dance He-Man. Yeah, it just needs to have that thing where you put your hand under the cape or something and then a star background. Let's see. I feel like Rob Liefeld. Careful, if you say it 3 times, he will appear. No. I've turned around a little bit on Rob Liefeld, but I feel like Rob Liefeld was totally inspired by this film's design aesthetic. If you remember what he looked like in the 90s, I think he definitely saw that William Stout concept art with that mullet. Let's see. Real Robo-Tribe. I know this guy's feelings about Liefeld, yes, isn't known for subtlety. The new Eternia line has certainly piqued my interest. It is pretty fascinating. And again, there is a comic line coming through Dark Horse that's going to sort of share a little bit about what the mythos is, the lore is in this other version of Eternia based on concept art, which is great. Yep, the tooling on that character is insane. Again, just they're investing in this line and this brand. They're like, nope, He-Man isn't dying anytime soon. Their approach is good. Maybe Quip has the answer. Here's their approach. Big strategy. Bunch of folks in a room. What are we going to do? I've got it. We're going to take all their money, start and stop a bunch of lines, and hope they don't have the discipline to only buy the figure they really want. Fast forward to us. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. Hasbro does it with Power Rangers and Marvel Legends. Mattel's just following suit. Yeah, and you know what's really fascinating is this new idea of the Masterverse, right? And I've kind of spoken about this in different circles. Like, there was something when they launched that line that hit me with an aha of like, yeah, no, they're embracing this notion of a, we keep using the word universe now that with the MCU that's become popularized, right? And so this notion of a Masterverse that isn't necessarily tied to the He-Man you know, or I know, or she knows, or they know. It's like, no, it's all of them. So we're going to do a Masterverse CGI He-Man and Skeletor. And we're going to do a Masterverse Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella. And we are going to do a Masterverse 40th anniversary He-Man and on New Eternia. So the idea that they're holding on to is, yeah, it's Masters of the Universe spanning this multiverse. And I think it's great. They're really sort of freeing things up and opening up the possibilities. I personally, though, wonder, like, because I know some Marvel Legends collectors, and they're kind of like what you're saying. I collect X-Men, right? I collect the Avengers.
Only MCU
or I only
guys.
collect,
Only.
yeah. So from a toy maker's perspective, like, I get the idea of trying to like make a bunch of stuff available. The question is, does that translate to being profitable? Because you might then only have some people like picking and choosing, or does that also open up the possibility of a lot of, toy people love to like fight and have conflict and drama, being like, oh, they gave us another MCU character, and then other people are like, what are you talking about? The MCU's the best. Oh, they need to give us this. And does that then just open up more sort of, it's because we say, let's not yuck your yum. That's not necessarily something that happens in a lot of places, right? There's a lot of toy conflict.
I just hope we get some toys from some He-Man lines that didn't get toys. Like the DreamWorks She-Ra series. So good. No toys.
Agreed. Actually, sorry. They did.
Okay, there were some toys.
There were. And unfortunately, they weren't toys that were like a lot of people knew about. Like, I think I was sharing about, there were these, they were actually pretty cool. They were a little bit more on what people would call quote unquote doll, for whatever that term, doll action figure, right? But they were more doll-like. And they were positioned, I remember seeing them in the quote unquote girls' toys aisles. I was like, wait. There's She-Ra toys when I saw these things. And they're a little bit larger, if I remember. They look cool. They're a little bit more stylized. They're not exactly a one-to-one attempt to recreate the body style and the designs fully of the show. But I'm with you. I would have loved those. And if we could, I don't assume they can because it's a DreamWorks thing, right? Having had some conversations with the Super 7 folks a while back when they had the license, or a little bit right after the license, it was right before, I think actually She-Ra and the Princesses of Power had just come out, and I asked them about that. And someone may have been a little loose-lipped and just sort of was just naming that became a real sticking point in terms of, no, stay away from She-Ra, stay away from She-Ra. You don't have access to She-Ra. So then that's what I heard at the time. Here we are. We all know that there is a Masterverse She-Ra. So I don't know. I just brought something up and then contradicted myself. Charlie says, and they just trademarked Mattel Studios. I think they're going after big Marvel energy. I hope, yeah, good luck to them. What you just saw was me refraining from DC hate right there. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Chris. Yeah. And real quickly, not, I know you got love for DC. It was specifically some DC, the attempt for DC to jumpstart their universe is what I was going to make a comment about. But anyways.
Let's be fair. The movies are bad. So bad. But
it's because they didn't do Robin.
Eternal.
It's because they never attempted Robin, right? That was the flaw.
The problem is, and they bring this up every time someone's like, Batman's got to be cool. He's got to punch people, and you want him to hang out with some kid?
Yeah, that's true. All right, I'm going to try and zoom through some of these. The troopers have the dopest laser tag gear, though. Oh, are you referring to just... Yeah, you're still on the movie. Thank you. Sorry, Nick. You're not still. I'm delayed here. Nick is saying, not my beast man, justice for Salrod. The troopers had the dopest laser tag gear, though. The troopers were like, I really like Darth Vader. That's what they felt like a little bit to me. But they were great. And I don't know if you know, what is his name? Oh, I'm blanking. He did a lot of sculpts for Super 7. It's Joe. Last name begins with an A, and I want to say Joe Amato. That's a completely different person. But he was doing custom pieces that he was selling. Their kits. They were a little spendy. That you could then use on a certain classics figure. I'm forgetting which pieces, and turn them into those cool troopers, and they're pretty hot. Anywho, wait a second. What is Nick talking here? The girls are prettier down in Whittier. Are you just being witty because of the phrase? Probably. For a second there, I was like, hey, wait a second. Were you from? I'm trying to remember where you're from. I know you're here in the Bay now, but I didn't. Sorry, I was just wondering if you were. You're familiar.
Well, he's definitely being wittier.
Yes, for sure. Skin tone is slightly off. Yeah, I was looking at those, but I mean, it's fairly negligible from what I can tell. That head looks really good, though. I'll give it up to them for that. I feel like the Viking He-Man would pair nicely with the Dolph body. Possibly. What could possibly go wrong? Xanadu, thank you. Roller skating movie. See what's up? High five, old man. Yeah, high five, other old man. Yes. I liked Solo. Was just curious because I fed it. I saw Solo 4 times in the theater. 4 times in the theater. Just saying. Yeah, some concept art. If I had the wherewithal, I would easily pull them up and bring them up. Maybe I can. Maybe but we'll see. Ooh, what you got here?
We have the non-helmeted new attorney ahead there.
I actually kind of forgot that there was a non-helmeted alt head. Did you just hear a beep by any chance?
I can't say that I did.
Okay, cool. Only because I opened up Discord and I was wondering if a bunch of if you were going to hear all the beeps. Yes. I think actually, let me just quickly, since we're here, what? Hold on. What? Toy drama? Never. Well, I never. Let's stick here for a second. And I know we're running a little long. Thank you so much. And I appreciate it. Hope you all are okay. And of course, you can just jump off whenever you want. But I want to take a look at this actually, just to kind of get a sense.
Oh no!
Yeah, some of this concept art is, yeah, there is. And there was an attempt there, like, to be real, for those of us who were wanting something new. Or sorry, we're not wanting something new. We're wanting something that was closer to the toy. They clearly were looking at it. But as someone who was a designer by profession for a while, I will tell you that one of the tricks is when you don't want to do a thing, you design it poorly so that they'll see that and say, nah, we don't like that. And then you show them the other direction that you really want them to go in. And so part of me, just maybe being too cynical and suspicious, wonders if they were like, yeah, okay, they're going to want us to do the toy. Well, let's show them how bad we think that would look. Anyways, look at that. Whittier Police Station getting shot up. Yeah, I've seen these. But you see again here, a man at arms. And these random earthlings. Ugh. This is fascinating. Don't know who this is, but I'm pretty sure I want that as a figure. Yep, I want all these as figures. Come on now. This is like, who does this remind me of in the gold? It's a little bit of Captain Power, but there's something else that I'm getting. Some vibes I'm getting. There you go. Boom.
Yeah.
That is the mullet to end all mullets that I was thinking of. And I when Super 7 was like, well, we're doing these off the William Stout. And actually, I guess the answer is that's because this was not drawn by William Stout. This is a Mobius drawing. So maybe that was the issue. But look at these cool, like I'm down for these too. Look at those armband, or whatever you call them. Those are pretty cool. And they would have had this like found armor tech. And look at this mullet. Can you see my cursor kind of highlighting or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
so you see me focusing on this gorgeous alt mullet.
It's almost not like hair that came from the head. It's just like someone put a pelt down the back of his skull.
Yeah, that's it. He killed one of Beastman's brethren and shoved it on his head. And then there's that. Yes. Thank you so much for that, Allison. Okay, let us. Oops.
I'm just messing.
Yeah, no, it's fun, dude. Thank you so much for hanging out and playing. This is rad. Again, kid of the '80s. Yes, I still say rad. I'm really digging the CGI He-Man and Motu shows and figures. I tried getting my daughter into Origins, but she hated He-Man's haircut and gravitated toward the new stuff. I can't say I blame her. You know what, Quip? I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. I think when CGI came out, they might have been like 8 and 10. Before that Revelation came out, I showed it to them. Actually, no, take that back. It was when I got the Origins figure, and I showed my sons, and they looked at He-Man, and they both started laughing. They're like, why is he naked? They were rolling. They couldn't get past in that moment. And we are not prudes by any chance here or anything like that. But they were just laughing at the idea. That was interesting. And then the CGI stuff. So similar to the hair thing. And then the CGI came on. Actually, no, it was Revelation. And they actually enjoyed Revelation. They liked the storytelling. They liked the sort of drama and what was happening. And then I think for whatever reason, maybe we've just shown them like some other films and stuff. The CGI stuff they were into, and they thought it was fun, but it wasn't something that seemed to last. Toy companies and big box stores would benefit from breaking out of the gendered aisles. Thank you. Mix that up. I'm just now learning of that DreamWorks She-Ra. So look, that right there is like exactly like it kept Masters of the Universe and He-Man fans likely from even knowing about this toy line. Granted, there were a lot of those who were like, I don't like this version of She-Ra. But for every one of those, I'm sure there were others like me and, you who were like, yeah, this is cool. And so, again, that's an issue of, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Like there are a lot of squeaky, loud wheels right now on the internet who can like tell us when they don't like a thing. But the reality is a lot of us are kind of like, yeah, I like it. I'm happy. And I go on with my day. I don't feel the need to start a YouTube channel and say, hey, this is great. Right. They just don't.
Right.
And so it makes sense that we get a lot of the negativity. And it's a shame because that DreamWorks thing was dope. And the larger idea. Yeah, I really struggle with it. I get it to a certain extent in terms of just sort of like if you're accepting the current reality of things, some people are like, well, we're just going to make more money if we just go with the flow, which I hate. That said, it's whack. Like I bought my kids, my youngest, like their big connection to superheroes. Of all the things that I have in the house, the thing that for whatever reason captured my youngest son's attention, I think he was probably 7 or 8 at the time, 7, was Wonder Woman. The movie had just been coming out. He'd seen trailers, and then DC Superhero Girls came out. And we were like, oh, cool, like a superhero cartoon. Let's watch this. And we were watching the YouTube song over and over. It's got this real like teeny bop kind of song, and he was into it. And so he wanted to be Wonder Woman for Halloween. So he was Wonder Woman. I made him a costume. My kid was cosplaying as Wonder Woman, and I was his little burglar with like a bag of cash that he would he held onto me like a leash with his golden lasso.
Nice.
And then where was I going with? Then the figures came out. So for his birthday, actually it was before that, sort of in June. For his birthday, we got him these really cool. They had these cool, probably 6 or 7 inch figures that were on the animated style, and they didn't have like the best articulation, but they were like modern articulation figures.
The superhero
but anyways,
girls?
Yeah, DC Superhero Girls. Again,
I have
probably
some of those.
Oh, you've seen those. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
you
ended
had to
up
go
just-
into the girl aisle though, which was what was
Again.
weird.
It's sort of what
Yeah.
Charlie Weaver is pointing out. It was just like, you know, and again, maybe the other side of that is, well, that way they can appeal to the people who are supposed to be in that other route, which is young girls, young women, or, you know, female identified kids. But like, yeah, it's just, yeah. Anyways, I think we're getting it. I liked Cavill as Superman and really dug Matt Reeves as the Batman. So I'm a little disappointed about the resets, but I'll reserve judgment. Like, let's be real. Like it's not like they can't go back. Like they've gotten used to the idea. Well, let's start. And one of my exes was from Whittier. Got it. One of my exes.
I think the Batman is still getting a sequel though, the Reeves Batman. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's quite dead yet.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there's that, and the Joker's still getting its sequel. Like they're still
right.
Basically the ones that worked. There's no reason to kill it, and it doesn't seem to me that that's what that he's looking to do. What there's 2 of them now. I'm blanking. James Gunn
It's
and I forget
James
the other
Gunn
person's
in
name.
yeah.
Plus, Solo was
Not
dope.
James Gunn.
One of my faves. Yeah, I really loved it. I was sold on the trailer with that cool piece of music that I wish they would release. I don't know if you remember the piece of music on that trailer. +1 Solo.
I liked
That's all us
Solo.
old
I
folks.
just the character kind of didn't work with the rest of Star Wars for me.
Ah. Do you watch animated? Sorry, now we're on the Star Wars tangent. But see, like I feel like this is a safe space for me to talk. Star Wars.
Love animated Star Wars. The problem I had with Solo is that when we meet him in A New Hope, he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
And maybe they were building towards that in Solo, but in that movie, he's still like, oh, heart of gold, that Solo.
Yeah.
That Han Solo.
There's some time that passes in between Solo and so there's a little bit of a question mark. But you're right, at the end, he does seem a little bit on the noble side. He turns down joining the seeds of rebellion with homegirl from Willow / Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm forgetting her name. Enfys Nest. Spoiler alert. But yes, Charlie Weaver understands what I was talking about showing that concept art. Flash Gordon potentially for the art, I think, and Brock Sampson with bloody power. I'm way behind, guys. Sorry, getting used to this whole live chat thing. Hey man, where your clothes at? The one fighting man-at-arms is one of the concepts of Sarod. Got it. By Claudio Mazzoli. Claudio, draw us a Sarod. Masters of the Nudiverse. is supposed to do away with gendered aisles. CA being what? California?
California, I bet.
Are we? Thanos? Is that like a haha, that's something California would do, or is there some kind like I can't see them mandating that for private yeah, I don't know if that's just a joke. That rules potential. Yeah, I don't agreed. And so do you know what that's about? Thanos? Are you talking like in stores? 'Cause I can't imagine they don't. That's not really something they have control over, given a private business. But anywho, on that note, is there anything else you wanted to show with that figure?
No, I'm good. I feel like
Okay.
we've spun Dolph around
Yep.
quite a bit.
Yes. Yep. Okay, let's move on to the other one. Happy New Year. Whoa, just kidding.
You got your mic on your studio
Yep, yep.
cam.
So, look at that. All right. So, all right. Again, cool. I love this. I haven't totally played around with this today, and maybe I'll shoot some extra footage. I usually do this whole repackaging thing. That's what Quip kind of came up with the word. So I do kind of edited versions of these, and maybe I'll show this off a little bit more in that. But for now, and I know it's getting late, and we're getting closer to that 2023, but this is what we're doing next. This is how, just to show you how truly I am unboxing this. Oh, what a waste. Oh, well, sorry. What a waste. What a waste of life. Sorry. That's embrace. Okay. So this is my very first Figma. My first Figma. I have just been sort of curious about that, and again, part of me is getting back into toy collecting. It's part of the curiosity, I guess, is just sort of like what's been out there, what haven't I seen, and I know I've been following toys for the longest time because I could never stop paying attention to toys. And so I'd heard of Figma, and I'd seen a bunch of their stuff, especially their anime kind of properties. And I've seen the articulation, and I've seen it evolve over the years, but never really felt there was anything that would make sense for my collection, especially because of the scale. I tend to, most of my things are kind of like Masterverse size. That's why that Power Rangers, oh, by the way, probably for size comparison, if you're wondering, that's believable to me. He's not the giant monster that ends up fighting the Zords, right? But he's a creature with a bunch of eyes that fully could have come out of Masters of the Universe in the 80s, as far as I'm concerned. He probably just needs like a bandolier and a gun. But keeping on the human anatomy tip, this kind of works. And I'd seen it for a while. The reason this works is because I do have this, it's kind of this, what I keep calling my science fantasy shelf, right? And this just sort of works as a body, right? As a truly flayed human body. And I had an idea to sort of display him or use it in my collection. Oh, this is cool. I've heard of this. Are you familiar with Figma? Do you have any Figma?
No, my first Figma is actually in the mail right now.
Gotcha. They come. I saw it in an old Pixel Dan review, actually, from Pixels to Plastic, where he showed that they come with these little baggies for you to put your stuff in.
Mezco does that too. It's very cool.
Because they're like, let's triple down on the plastic we're sending out into the world. Which is fine. Well, I mean, it's not fine, but yeah, I'm here. Sadly, I'm brainwashed to be here for it. Bunch of hands. They come in like, this cool little like stand that has these pegs that can take them, pointing hands or whatever. If you like to make your corpses, have some digital expression.
Is it in
But here's the
Germany
figure.
that they have kind of a human anatomy museum where they've got partially like flayed people on display?
They did, and that was touring for a while too, right? Yeah, and I want to say that there were places here in the United States that were hosting that display or something like it. And yeah, the controversy was, where are these bodies coming from? And yeah, it's a little weird. But this is what we're dealing with, and it feels so weird. I will tell you right now. I mean, it's really small. And so
They tend to be a true 112, right?
yeah, these are a true 112, and so they're probably closer to, they could work with Marvel Legends almost as a 1-to-1. But I don't know, I was just sort of fascinated by this. And I will tell you right now, if I'm being super like nitpicky, this isn't fully a review or anything, but the paint job's great, but it's not very vibrant, I guess. And I don't necessarily mean, I can't get this thing to focus. I don't mean like, oh, he's supposed to be bright red. But when I look at some of this white here, it seems very light, to the point where, like, if these were bones, they look almost translucent, and you can see the red underneath, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But I mean, it's still, pretty amazing. And I just love this. I'm also sort of intrigued by the engineering of these things and how different companies approach them. I'm looking at this arm. Again, this is new to me, probably not new to some folks in the audience. But yeah, these things I know can articulate really well, and you can get them. And I didn't heat anything up, right? These are just really buttery and ready to go, right? Like, free me. Have you seen my soul? Anyway,
my wife texted and said she saw that exhibit in Chicago, so it did get.
Yeah,
It was in the U.S.
yep.
You're right.
And I don't intend to, but in my Plunderlings stream, I ended up showing that thing's rear end, but not necessarily intentionally. But that's pretty fascinating to see that gluteus, the musculature underneath. It just trips me out to think that this thing exists. This is part of the freeing line, and so they also ended up doing the. Well, I guess this makes sense if this was meant to actually mimic that exhibit. Right, they also do things like the Vitruvius Man.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was
they've
Figma
done a
that did
Venus.
that.
Yeah, it is. It's the same line. I don't fully understand it. Maybe somebody in the chat does. But the whole idea of freeing as a line, like, so there's Figma, and so these are listed as Figma figures, and you saw on the box it said Figma. But somewhere along the line, I want to say I also see them say freeing, all capital free, Free, and then ing. I see those on all the listings, as if that's kind of the subline, right? And I see Max Factory a lot. So I don't fully understand it, because there it is. Looks like a little Wi-Fi logo or something.
Okay.
So those Vitruvius Man, the Tutankhamun, those are all part of that freeing line. So I guess that's what this is. It's meant to be like our museum-ish. I don't know. Focusing isn't a thing. Again, like you, I'm kind of new to this, and I know you've got a newish cam. So I don't know. You see those folks like online, I'm just copying what they do. I'm like, oh, not necessarily knowing what actually works. It's like blowing into the cartridge. I guess that's supposed to work. There. Focus.
There we go.
Yeah, that's pretty, that's some nightmare fuel. That looks like something that I remember from like a panel in a Sandman comic back in the day. Oh, look at that. So, scale-wise, I've got some splaining to do. But right? Yeah.
Right,
but
of course,
very
Masterverse
different.
is 110. I think.
Yes. But that tends to be that and Mythic Legions, and some Storm collectibles. Those tend to be what I've kind of built things around. I was actually building around Masterverse. But again, it's a body. And in my science fantasy universe, there are all sorts of denizens and all sorts of creatures in different scales. So I'm not, too worried about the quote unquote reality or realism. Oh, even worse.
Perfect for sticking in the other hand.
Exactly. Birds of a feather. So, anywho, how's that?
Yeah, that's
for
horrifying.
An image for 2023. Anyway, that's all I had to unbox. And then we'll have this guy from my previous live play some music while this whole scene is happening. So yeah, what does this say about me? I do not know. But what it says is I'm having fun. 2022 coming back into toys. I will say that I'm having a great time, and that's really what it's about, right? Isn't that what this is all about?
100%.
Awesome. Well, I've totally had a great time hanging out, Chris. Thank you so much for joining me on New Year's Eve, ready to bring in 2022. Is it yet time? Let's see. It's 8. It's almost 7 here. You're where exactly in the country?
I'm an hour ahead.
Okay, so you're not that far down. Okay, so
No.
we're approaching 2023. So, anyways, just to kind of wrap things up, thank you so much again for joining me on this. I hope we get to do this a little bit more regularly. It'll be fun.
This was great.
Maybe,
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, that's cool. And you're going to tell us a little bit more about what you've got coming up. What are your thoughts about your channel for 2023 in broad strokes, and anything maybe specific coming up that you want folks to know about?
Probably a couple more live unboxings just to try to get through my backlog. But I kind of want to do some topic videos. Like I was thinking about doing domestic versus import, and talking scale, specifically 110 versus 112, and how Marvel Legends isn't really 112.
That's cool. And are you thinking those would be like you'll create a pre-recorded video?
Yeah, that would be a pre-recorded, edited thing. But yeah, expect way too much McFarlane in the next year.
Cool. And then you'll still be doing kind of the review videos. Are you doing any Gundam? Like, are you going to be building some stuff? You thinking?
I'm gonna have to because again, I have an awful backlog.
Okay.
That Gundam became my pandemic hobby, and then eventually it's just like I've built way too much.
Yeah. Right on. So it's Shiny Plastic People. If you could, and I'll go back and add that in the description, but definitely if you haven't already, check out Shiny Plastic People. Subscribe. Oh, look at that. And like all those videos, hit the notifications so that you know when he's going live. And then it looks like Thanos Copter. Yes, this is what it's about.
Thank you so much, Thanos.
And yeah, and fun is ultimately what it's about, is absolutely what it's about. Real quick, before we go, just to 110, 112, thank you for reminding me with that. Let's take a quick look, because the Figmas tend to run, and a lot of the stuff from overseas tends to, when they say 112, they're talking a slightly different language, right? Yeah. We're like, the United States tends to do its own thing sometimes. So we've got, this is your 112. This is a Marvel Legends character. Who else did I have? I had Namor somewhere. ¿Dónde está Namor? Anywho. Stand, please. No, she's like, I'm Wakandan. I do as I do. Don't tell me what to do, colonizer. All right, so still they're well, that could kind of work, but this is meant to be a male by birth, and then here you see Sprite. So yeah, it's interesting. They definitely run smaller, right, in general than what we even consider to be 112 here in the States. Anyway, yes, let me put him back next to his master for now, or maybe he's the master. All right, folks, that really truly is what we've got for today. Again, thank you so much to Chris from Shiny Plastic People coming on. Thank you to everybody that was in the chat. That was definitely the most active chat I've had to navigate so far, and I really appreciate everybody coming through, especially on this holiday. I hope everyone has a great new year. Stay safe, do your thing, and we'll ring in 2023. Hopefully, it'll bring us lots of cool toys and stuff to talk about. Yeah. All right, so that's all we have. We just start waving here, and we say peace and power, and like look awkward until everything ends, and it's just kind of like, whoa, what is going on? Are they